What's up, everybody? Mark with F Academy here, and we're doing a traditional reaction, a traditional react video. As many of you know, we've been doing a lot of live streaming recently, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a nice break. It's been a nice change of pace, and we're still gonna be doing it every Monday. But today we're taking a little bit of a break. We won't have a live stream Monday, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I'm very excited to be talking about the new Kublai Khan. I didn't even know there was new Kublai Khan dropping. Low tech. I don't know what we're in for. Well, it's Kublai Khan, so I kind of know what we're in for. I don't know much about the song title. I don't know much about the content, but I do know that Matt Honeycutt is a dope fucking vocalist. So I'm very excited to be able to talk about that. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Mark. I am a full-time vocal coach. I specifically teach people how to do all sorts of crazy vocal styles, everything from, you know, to safely and efficiently so they don't hurt themselves. I've had well over 1,000 students so far. I've been doing it for about 5 years, and I love it, and it's very rewarding. If you wanted to have an idea of the sort of people I have taught, there's a F Academy alumni playlist here on the YouTube channel that has a lot of my students of all different skill levels using stuff that we worked on together. Now, I am also the vocalist in a band called Kardashev, and been doing that for about 12 years. I've been doing metal vocals for about 15 years, give or take. It'll be 15 years in October. And on Monday, I will not be doing the stream that we normally do where we take your reaction requests because I'm going to be in the studio. I'm going to be in the studio all week Monday through Friday next week, doing all sorts of big belty singing and harsh vocals, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. But anyways, if you like the content, like, share, and subscribe. If you're interested in learning metal vocals yourself, pay attention because I'm gonna teach you a lot of stuff in this video. And if you wanna take it a little bit further, I do give one-on-one lessons. And I also, we have an e-course, False Chord Fundamentals, which is very much related to what we're gonna hear Matt Honeycutt do. Unless he surprises me. Well, he always surprises me, but you know what I mean. And that's it. That's it. So let's go ahead. Let's get cooking. Let's check out Low Tech, Kublai Khan. Here we go.
Build myself in the dirt. Sacred right, sacred curse. Who reverse expecting dust? Promise golden empty rusted return for your life and sacrifice. Teach yourself the rusted day. To be a man with nowhere to stand. All tech with your dick left in your hand. You built the world, we can't share it. I'm sorry, son, we're not the ones to raise it.
Oh, we're gonna have to go back because that riff sounds chunky. But let's talk some vocal technique. People. So couple things here. First and foremost, I should not have been surprised that this song started with absolutely just a punch to my frickin' mouth. But it absolutely did. Right off the bat, boom. We hear Matt, we hear the guitars. It's purely aggressive, and that is what we want from Kublai Khan, right? So I'm not disappointed, but for some reason I was like, Mark, why were you surprised by this? So anyway, let's go ahead and let's talk about what we're hearing. So this is what falls under the umbrella. A lot of people would call this like a hardcore scream. I've heard people call it a post-hardcore scream. What it's technically called, I don't really care. I'm more interested in how it's produced, right? So let's go ahead and talk about this. Now, oftentimes in the metal vocal world, we hear the terms false chord and fry being on this dichotomy. And that's a dichotomy that I'm often quite critical of. But here, it applies very, very well, right? So we hear two sounds when we listen to Matt, and these are very, very, very well balanced. These are very well balanced, right? We hear first and foremost the sound of his voice. We hear his vocal cords in his larynx. We hear them meeting. We hear them creating phonation, right? The sound of his voice. Phonation is speech sounds, right? Speech sounds. So the sound of my voice right now, me talking to you, that's called phonation. And usually, most of us, and some people would argue all the time, depending on which school of thought you're pulling from here, phonation comes from the vocal cords, right? But we also hear this really gravelly, really gritty, really aggressive sound. on top of that, and I say on top of that for a very specific reason, and that is what we would call false chord distortion, right? And one of the reasons Matt Honeycutt's voice sounds so awesome is because he has these things not only in almost a perfect 50-50 balance much of the time, so his voice never sounds out of control, right? But he also has a strong sense of relaxation while doing it, right? Now, that's an interesting thought. Oftentimes when we hear vocals in hardcore bands or things like that, the vocals sound, well, they sound really cool, but they sound very out of control. The goal with a lot of these vocals is to create a sound that sounds very emotionally reckless, abandon, anger, right? But Matt here, I sometimes find his voice almost more intimidating because in the aggression, there is like a sort of calm, cool, collected delivery that is a strange combination, but one that I like really well, right? Now, if you're interested in the really granular, finer details of finer details of what the false chords are, where they come from, I go a lot really into detail that in our e-course, False Chord Fundamentals. It's been helping a lot of people. But what we can talk about now is that your false chords, aka vestibular folds, aka ventricular folds, sit above your vocal cords and they flap around. And one of their primary goals is to kick food out of your airway or water. So let's say, I've got my water here and you hear me doing it, right? Because I'm getting over some bronchitis. People watching this are like, man, Mark is always sick. I have a toddler in daycare. Of course I'm always sick. What are you talking about? But let's say I take a drink of water and it goes down the wrong pipe. I'll simulate that for you. That right there, that rumbly feeling, those are your false chords along with other tissues above the vocal folds activating. And when we're doing false chord vocals, our goal, at least at a fundamental level, when we're doing the bassline sound, and this is something he's got tremendous control of, is to make those rattle in a relaxed way. Right? You can tell one of the things that, well, let me say this differently. One of the things that his voice really gains from his relaxed tone is that there is a large amount of depth and there's a large amount of roundedness of tone. It doesn't sound super thin, right? And it's very, very cool. There were also some moments, we're going to play the song a little bit more here soon, but there were some moments where he would drop the voice out a little bit to make it sound more aggressive. I don't remember the lyrics. I think he said "in the dirt" at one point, but he had this, hey, in the dirt. Right? Do you hear that voice dropping out? The true chord phonation drops away. What remains? The false chord distortion. In the dirt. Right? And it's a really cool sound, and he's punctuating his vocal lines with that very well. We're gonna go back though because this riff is gonna break my ribs, and I'm excited for it.
I'm sorry, son, we're not the ones to raise our souls. Not royalty, and what nothing solitude will prove. I will lose. Force to love, force to share. Beyond bad guys, all is walk on. Let us the hurt. The world I see with no record never be. They fly by, they shine by.
I love that, right? So, yeah, it sounds like, and I didn't know this. Maybe I did and I forgot it. But it sounds like either their guitarist or bassist is doing some vocals as well. And I want to talk a lot about delivery here, right? Because that's one of the main ways we can tell the difference, even though they're doing the same technique, right? So one thing about this vocal, this very voice heavy false chord vocal that Matt does so well, is he delivers it. He sells it with a lot of emotion. You can hear the aggression in his voice. And when I'm teaching students this technique, that's actually the toughest part to teach. Not turning on the false chords. Most people get that. Not aiming the voice, hey, 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 in a relaxed way. Not putting them together. It's selling the emotion. If I have no emotionality, if I have no storytelling in my voice, I'm going to say "in the dirt" again because that's a cool sounding line. I'm going to say it totally deadpan, monotone, and it's going to sound goofy. Y'all are welcome to laugh, right? In the dirt, Who is listening to that? Nobody. You ain't getting any plays on Spotify with that. What we have to do is we have to sell that emotion. Now, on the one hand, we can view that very technique driven, right? I can, kind of drop my jaw, maybe push it forward very slightly, curl my lips in, curl my tongue. One thing that can help you is if you're not really sure how to tap into emotions, make the face of the emotion, and that'll take you part of the way, right? So if I say deadpan face, in the dirt, now I'm going to look like this. Mad. In the dirt. It's already gotten me somewhere, right? But you have to kind of channel into that anger. And that is something that is very convincing. In fact, I think if I was to say one of his strengths of his voice, it is that he is so convincing. You hear him just belting these lyrics out, belting these vocals out, and he's very convincing. Now his buddy on guitar or bass, I couldn't really tell. He's less here, hey, and he's more here, like a yeah, blah. He sounds like Matt sounds like he's like intimidating somebody, and his buddy sounds like he's like getting rid of a bad smell. You know what I mean? Like he's got more of like this, hey, in the dirt, blah, it stinks, in the dirt, hey. Whereas Matt is more like, hey, in the dirt, right? Now, if you're gonna approach this vocal style, there's one mistake you're probably gonna make. Okay, there's one mistake that you're probably gonna make, and it's first and foremost thinking that you have to push way harder than you do. This is a projected vocal style, right? It would be disingenuous of me to say, oh yeah, listen, he's not very loud at all. But rather than loud, I want you to think about being supported and being resonant, right? We're going to amplify the sound waves of this vocal style by causing them to bounce around in our head and mouth before they leave. So we're going to open up the vocal tract. We're going to, curl the lips a little bit. We're going to raise that soft palate so the sound waves have more room to bounce around before they exit. They're going to bump into each other. They're going to fight on their way out. And that's going to be part of the way that we get this projection. The second way is by activating our abdominal muscles as we scream, similar to laughing, right? Like if I put my hands here and I laugh, ha, 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 ha. That's happening. That's the driving force of the laugh. It's not something I'm putting on for you to see. That's what it looks like naturally. Ha, 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 right? Now, if we take that and we use that pressure on our gut to push down, right? To push down against our pelvic floor, like you're pooping, right? This is old knowledge, been around for a long time. Most of this vocal coaching stuff is very old knowledge. Because if it works, right? But that downward pressure is going to be your indicator that you're actually going to send the voice up and out very relaxedly. So for example, you can feel this if you take your finger, you put it up to your lips and you blow hard past your finger. Should kind of feel like you're pushing out a fart, or like you're you're constipated, right? Maybe a little bit. Now you don't need to try to poop out your intestines. But having that downward pressure is key. The reason for this is our abdominal cavity is a closed off system, right? We've got the pelvic floor on the bottom, pun very much intended. And then we've got the diaphragm on the top, and it's all closed up. And if you think about that like a water balloon, and I squeeze the water balloon, what's going to happen? Water's going to go down and up, down and up. The water pressure will go down and up. We don't really have a lot of feelings we don't really have a lot of way to sense the feeling in our diaphragm. A lot of time people say like, oh yeah, I can really feel my diaphragm. And I'm like, okay. Most of the time what they're saying is they feel their abs, right? But what we have a lot of sensation in is our pelvic floor. So since physics dictates, if you squeeze the water balloon, you get pressure down and up, right? You know that if you have that pelvic floor pressure, you're putting pressure with your abdominal cavity underneath your diaphragm, right? I'm about to go off on a tangent, so I'm going to stop myself. But part of the reason we need to do this is because when the diaphragm goes up, it actually is just relaxing. So on its own, it's not really enough to really support these screams, right? We need to use those abdominal muscles, use those intercostal muscles to really support that airflow out. Now, let's talk about putting this together, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to kind of make a sort of seesaw noise. You're going to keep your vocal cords connected, so you're not going to be, you're going to be, and I don't want you to go very high. I want you to go to the point where you feel yourself, where you feel your voice starting to take up space in the room, right? Your jaw is going to be relaxed. Your tongue is going to be neutral. You're going to be going, right? And I like to rock back and forth as I do this. This is a warm up I do sometimes. So I'm going to go, That's about as far as I need to go for this. Now, what we're looking for at this point is no feeling of squeeze in my neck. I'm feeling my mask, right? I'm feeling that bone of the maxilla here start to vibrate, and I'm feeling downward pressure, but the thing in the middle, well, not the exact middle, this, very low pressure, if any at all. Now, at this point, if you know how to create voiceless false chord distortion, which there are a lot of tutorials online. There are a lot of vocal coaches that, such as myself, that can help you. There are a lot of e-courses such as mine that can give you every step you need to do this. If you can create this tone, right? Not as hard as you think. If you take this, and you put them together, now get mad. Monkey see, monkey do. Who the fuck made you? If those are the lyrics, I might miss them. And when I do that, it feels so aggressive, or it sounds so aggressive, but it actually doesn't feel like much. It doesn't feel like much because my body is balanced out. My vocal system is balancing it out. One thing you really want to think about is being forward. Hey. First one wasn't good, but I'll leave that in there. Hey. You can also think of this as like a sort of, this is kind of counterintuitive. Just bear with me. It's sort of like a rounded twang. If I pull my lips back, you can hear that twang. Twang. Apparently what nobody else on the internet is talking about. What vocal coaches won't tell you. Yes, I'm referencing something quite silly. Many vocal coaches will tell you about twang. We might call it the New York accent, which is a caricature. Hey, I'm walking here. I know not everybody in New York sounds like that, but we've been talking about twang for decades. But these are some ways that you can approach. These sounds, right? Let's keep going. The other guy's vocals are also a little bit more airy. This is something that's really cool and really interesting. So Matt's vocal cords are very connected while he does this. Hey. The other guy, his vocal cords are a little less connected. Hey. And you can hear that changes the tone quite a bit. Really fascinating. One is not necessarily more wrong or right than the other, but it's about not putting a ton of pressure on those vocal folds. And generally speaking, if you are going to have a little bit more area of a sound, right? You want to be extra careful about subglottal pressure underneath your vocal cords, right? Because what can happen is if your voice is very airy, hey everybody, what's going on? He's not that airy. This is just an example. If your voice is very airy, hey everybody, what's going on? And then you create subglottal pressure while also kind of trying to maintain the airiness. Hey everybody, what's going on? You hear that like really harsh wheeze? That's going to dry out the edges of your vocal cords. It's going to cause, if you really lean into it, it's going to cause your vocal cords to stop meeting healthfully along their edge and start smacking along their edge. And you're looking at vocal nodule town, potentially. I'm not a doctor. But you are. So his activation is not bad at all. I just wanted to point that out for anybody who likes that sound. Also, these guitar tones. It's like shoveling gravel pitched down by like, I don't know, however much. Speaking of pitch, I'm going to play the song more, but I want to talk to you about pitch. Let's keep going. Fight the tide to the line, but I create every fighting mind for this low tech. dirty. I want to hear that one more time. That outro was dope.
To the line, but I create every fighting mind for this low tech.
Yo, I have a question for you in the audience. How does Kublai Khan make that work? Right? How does Kublai Khan make that work? Because if somebody was to say to me, now if anybody in Kublai Khan sees this, I'm sorry if this sounds bad, but it doesn't, because what I'm saying is that y'all are songwriting geniuses. If somebody was to say to me like, okay, what if we have a riff that's just chug, 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 and then the drums are just kind of going tz, 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 and we'll throw in something else in there, and I might have got the drums a little bit wrong, whatever. I would be like, that's all? And yet when these boys do it, it sticks the landing. I don't know if it's the tone, I don't know if it's the delivery, I don't know if it's the production, but I think, you know what I think it is? I think it's that they know how to utilize simple ingredients to maximum effect, right? Simple ingredients to maximum effect. And actually, this is one of my favorite analogies in songwriting. Any of my students out there might see this and hear a food analogy coming, and if so, deal with it. So, some food is really complex and has a lot going on, like Indian food, for example. Like one of my favorite dishes is any sort of curry. Any sort of curry, right, is phenomenal. And if you're going to get it in an Indian restaurant, it's going to be delicious. And if you disagree with me, go home. And if you're home, go outside and then go back in. But those flavors are so complex. Another food that I love, I don't know if there's a specific name for it or whatever, but I just called it sushi for a long time. But it's just, maybe this is sashimi. I don't know. But it's just rice, a little bit of wasabi, cut of fish. That's it. 3 flavors going on there, and it is intensely good. In fact, much of the time, I'd go sushi over curry. Well, okay, that might be a little much. But my point is, I think these guys are riding sashimi, right? Simple elements, executed very well at a high quality, and it works. And sometimes I feel like that's probably harder than layer on layer on layer on layer, which is kind of the music that Kardashev does. Shh, don't tell anybody. Layer on layer and layer, lots of stuff going on. Now, one thing I really loved about this song, so his voice is down a lot. Hey, it's got this downward slant to it. Like if we were thinking Mandarin, what the hell is with my analogies? I don't know, but you're all going to listen to them. If we're thinking Mandarin, we've got 4 tones, right? We've got tone 1. I might get these mixed up, but we've got right? Right? He's often what in my order was tone 4. I don't know if that's that's actually tone 4, 3 or whatever, but the A, monkey, C, monkey, do, in the dirt, down, down, down. But then he said, low tech, and it sounded sick. And he only did that once in the song, right? That's what I'm talking about. Simple elements at high quality. Let's listen to it again. Leave me alone. Yeah, that's a very low tech. That sounds so cool. I love that. And I love that he only did it once. That really caught me off guard. I was like, whoa. So the last thing I said I wanted to talk to you about pitch. Let's listen to something really quick here. Man, this is going to be an editing nightmare. I don't care. Here we go. Let me find something real quick. I'll show you what I'm doing here. Hey, find the day. So that's what pitch he's on. Now I don't have perfect pitch, so let's find this. Hey. Let's see what that is. Virtualpiano.net. If you've got perfect pitch, or you think you have perfect pitch, make a prediction. Make a prediction in the comments below. Let me make sure it's ringing in my memory properly.
Check enemies to my car.
Gotta go higher than that. Get that sustain out of there. Is that G sharp 4? Might be. Simply say. It's hovering around that space. Say. Ooh. Yeah, G4. So he's screaming, you know, and the reason I'm pointing this out is because we think of this as a very low, deep scream. Hey, wait, hey. But if I take the distortion away, I'm actually like upper chest mix range for a lot of people, right? You know, and one thing that's interesting is those notes can be a lot easier to hit when we have grit. So the reason I'm pulling this out is because a lot of times people hear this, and because of things such as timbre, because of things such as like resonance, and you know the way that sometimes frequencies can trick us a little bit. Like a lot of times, people will hear two similar pitches, and the second one has like just a darker, richer, boomier timbre, and they'll think they're different notes, same note. The second one's just boomier and deep. So what they'll try to do is they'll try to do this down here. Hey, 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 hey. And they just end up getting like a really poorly controlled false chord. Hey, hey. So what you should do, and this is usually what I work with my students on, once they have false chord distortion, once they're able to go like, you know, hey, hi, what's up everybody? Mark with Cardivox Academy here. And today I'm talking about false chord. Right, once they're able to do that, which again, it's not as hard as you might think it is. What we'll do is we'll get to like our calling. I'm using this term really loosely. Calling register, right? This place where we're calling out to somebody. You know, we're saying, hey, buddy, what's going on? Yay! That note. Ooh. Yeah, G4, right? Hey, that dirt, and that's where you want to be, right? So if you're having trouble with this, you're very likely, if you're having trouble with this and you do know how to create false chord distortion voicelessly, chances are you're trying to do this too deep, or you're you know, getting into that almost belty like mixed voice or upper chest voice space, and you need to learn how to handle those high notes without squeezing your larynx, squeezing your glottis. I mean, so that may be the thing. But anyway. Man, fuck a bronchitis. I will tell you what. Anyway, it's Kublai Khan. We know we're gonna like it. We know it's gonna be a banger. No disappointment for me. Some of those like, oh, that riff roughly in the middle, God, that killed me. And the guitar tone, his screams, everything is so perfectly curated for itself. Like all these elements work together perfectly. Like I can't imagine a different vocalist or, you know, a different guitar tone or something like that. Anyway, I'm just kind of rambling at this point because I liked the song and I'm trying to avoid. I am recognizing in myself that I'm stalling because we're moving currently, and this is just only this part of the room. This part of my office is just covered in boxes. But anyway. If you enjoy the content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot to watch the channel grow. Again, go to cardivoxacademy.com. I have been teaching people metal vocals for almost 5 years now. It's gone very well. I love helping people out. You can check the Cardivox Academy alumni playlist. And you can check out our e-course, False Chord Fundamentals. It's been helping a lot of people. A lot of people, you know, will email us and say, hey, this has really helped me, and this is what I sound like now versus then, which is really neat. But you know what? Scan the internet. See what else is out there. See who you feel like you would fit best with. You know what I mean? Because after all, we're all being honest with you. Sorry, I'm just throwing shade. I'm throwing a little shade, but it's friendly shade. That's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Many thanks. Much love. I'm out.